Okay, today we're going to take a video of the cemetery, Marae Cemetery, starting from my house. Just a few minutes walk down the road. Since I've been here, there's been 4 or 5 deaths in my community, in my direct community. I've been to a lot of other funerals around the island. This cemetery is the main graveyard that we have, but there's also cemeteries with just a small plot here or there throughout the bush or behind people's houses. And that's a direct result of an argument, a disagreement that they had, a land dispute. So some families were blocked from burying their dead in this cemetery, and because, let's say, a husband was not allowed to be buried in this cemetery and then his wife died later, she was buried alongside him. So not everyone is buried here. This graveyard is also significant for the New Year. So every New Year, as soon as midnight strikes, people run around the village and they make as much noise as they can. They hit saucepans, they hit copper roofs, they scream and they yell. And we all march our way down here on this road and we come to the cemetery. And when we get there, we make as much noise as we can. And supposedly we're running away spirits and we're running away the devil, and it's a way to bring in the new year. They call it running away the new year, or the old year. So we're running away the old year and spirits. The last funeral that we had here was in January, and it was for a little girl named Janessa. We call her Sasa, and she developed a heart condition. She was in Port Vila getting ready to go to New Zealand for surgery, and unfortunately she died in that waiting process. So we buried her here. It was a sad funeral. It's always more sad when little kids die. In just a few days, on June 1st, we're having a 1-year anniversary celebration of a chief that died, an old chief that died. His wife is actually the last, what we call, old fella in our village, Leisao. She's still living, and she's not doing so well. She has some sort of dementia or Alzheimer's. So I'm not sure how much longer she'll be around, but all of the other old fella in the village died while I was here. So the rest of the age group are around late 50s or early 60s, and those are our oldest people in the village right now, except for Leisao, who's probably 80 something at this point. Okay, we're getting here at the cemetery. Usually when we have what we call a dead, when someone dies and we have their funeral, they'll clean this area out and make it look really nice in respect for them. And right here, this area is usually always cleaned out. And usually they'll make an arc right in front of me where you can walk under, and they'll use local leaves that are ceremonial, like leaf namele. Okay, so this is the graveyard of Chief Mana Sango, and he's a chief I was just talking about. And he died June 1st last year. Yeah. Born October 1st, 1931, dead on June 1st, 2018. So we had his celebration. Some of these graves are really nice. They're covered with tile, and this ones even have copper roofs over them. Some of them have pictures. Donald T. Naviti, Manasakau. Other graves. These are more what the traditional graves on the islands look like. So sometimes when people die, they'll bring offerings. So as you can see here, they put a plate and a cup down with some food, and that food's gone and rotted away, but the plates, they stay here. Some more graves. This is Janessa's. This is Janessa's little grave. Looks really nice. Janessa Rarua, born June 1st, 2016, died on January 1st, 2019. So about a week after she died, I came out here to take a picture of her grave, and they'd put down Oreos and chips and other food items. They put a glass full of tea, and ants were eating it all. So it looks like they've come and cleaned that out since, and put some new stuff down. Now this is her great-grandmother's grave. This is Lily, and Lily lives in that yellow house. Her name was Tot Fong, and she's my grandma, and she died last October. Here's her picture. Well, the picture is obviously rain damaged. And I think this is her husband, Amos. Yeah, so he has a really nice grave. So that's what our cemetery looks like as of now. I'm sure they'll expand and make it bigger. A lot of people, if they live primarily in Vila, but let's say they're from a different island, a lot of times they have their bodies sent back to the island because it's free to have them buried on the island, but to maintain a grave plot in the Port Vila Cemetery, they have to pay about $40 a month, which is a lot for an Vanuatu to pay. And if they don't pay the monthly fee, they'll just dig up the grave and like put the bones somewhere like off to the side and disrupt the grave, and then they'll put someone else in their plot. So no one really wants that to happen, and they rather would be buried on their home island, which I think is a lot better as well than having to pay $40 a month for the rest of however long to keep your body in a graveyard. Yeah. So that concludes our tour of the cemetery, and in our next tour I'll take you to the coconut plantation. See you next time.